Hey Relish friends, welcome back to my kitchen with my son Jack on camera duty again, hooray. And today we're going to be making some really simple easy bread. This is what I call my no-knead bread. Actually it's not mine, it's actually created by a baker out of New York City. But if you haven't tried it, I highly recommend it. And you just need to make sure you have a few ingredients. So all-purpose flour. I've just got white all-purpose flour here. We need water, 1.5 cups of water. We're going to use salt. I've got my good kosher salt. And then for our yeast, we're using a quick rise yeast. If you wish, you can also pop some sourdough starter into this recipe if you wish, as well as your yeast, not in place of, but as well as your yeast. And then it takes about 12 to 18 hours for the whole thing to ferment, and then you can start to make your bread dough. So let's start by measuring out the ingredients that we need. So you got to have a good bowl to make this in. So I'm going to start by measuring out my flour. Now we can, most times I recommend that you don't scoop the flour. In this case, you can do that with this one. It's all right because it's based on weight to water ratio. So I'm going to scrape that off though. So I have exactly, and we need 3 cups of flour here. So I'm gonna add that in. Oops. Scrape it off. And the third one. This is unbleached all-purpose flour that I'm using, but if you just have regular flour, and I know for some of you are finding it difficult to find flour out there right now. I don't know, I think everybody's baking. Everybody's in the baking mode right now. So persevere and find out from your supermarket when their flour order is coming in, and just go and get some and have it on hand. Okay, we need 1/2 teaspoon of yeast, which is not the whole package. So I'm just going to measure that out here in my little, in my measuring spoon. Okay, remember this is the quick rise yeast. And oops, looks like I might need a little bit more. Okay, I'm done that one. Let's get the other one open here. Okay, so second bit, 1/2 teaspoon. Okay, 1/2 teaspoon of yeast, and then 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. So because I'm just going to use my 1/2 teaspoon measure here, and I won't put a full one in for that. Okay, so I'm going to use my Danish dough whisk to mix all of that together. I love this tool. It really whisks and blends up your dough, and things don't stick in it like if you had a wooden spoon. Okay, so we've got all of that mixed together. Now we're going to add our water. So what temperature should the water be? The water should be warm to cool, not hot. That's going to kill the yeast, so we don't want it hot. So just warm water, and even cool or cold water is fine, but don't get it hot. All right, in goes the water, and we're just going to stir all of that together. Make sure you've got a large enough bowl to do this one as well. And if you were wanting to add some sourdough starter into this, you may have some at home. You can add that in when you add the water. It's just for flavor. It's going to give your dough a real sort of sourdoughy flavor, but it is not going to affect the overall rise. That's a little tip I picked up from my friend Julie Van Rosendahl. If you don't follow her, she's at Dinner with Julie. Okay, so I've got all of that pretty much mixed together. And it's a really, you can see my dough here, it's a really shaggy dough. Okay, really shaggy. It's not meant to be a perfect blended dough at this point. I'll just get that last little bit out of my dough whisk and add it in here. All right, so that dough, I'm just going to blend it, just use my hands for a minute. I'm just going to cover that dough with some plastic wrap, or if you wish, if you have some kind of a container and you want to put a lid on it, just keep a little hole in the lid, but with some light plastic wrap. This is going to now sit for 12 to 18 hours. All right, we're coming back and I'm going to show you what's next. Okay guys, 12 to 18 hours. I did this last night. Look what's happened. It's bubbled up and it's really frothy. It's going to be kind of crazy when I pour it out, because you're going to honestly wonder how I am baking bread. But here's how we're going to do it. All right, I've got my flour. I'm going to make a nice dusted surface. Okay, dust that over your counter. All right, take your, if you have a dough scraper, these are awesome, these little flexible dough scrapers. So I'm going to scrape this right out of the dough, right out of my bowl, and onto the surface of my countertop. All right, scrape all of that out. Now, this is where normally you would probably knead bread, but we're really not going to do that. So I'm just going to get my hands dusty, and I'm just going to basically take my hands with the flour and just bring those edges in like so. That's it. And that's all we're going to do. Those 4 edges, just like that. All right, I'm going to get a piece of parchment paper. A big piece. My all natural parchment paper. Good sound. And then using that handy dandy dough scraper I have, that other solid, pick it up and pop it right onto the parchment paper, just like that. All right? You're gonna take a knife. I'm gonna use my nice little serrated knife, and I am just gonna cut a slash like this across the dough so I can open it up. It's gonna be able to breathe like that. I'll cut another slash this way. Okay, just like that. All right, next important step, your oven. Really hot oven, 450 degrees. I hope it won't set your smoke alarm off, but 450 degrees is where we want to go. I have my Dutch oven already preheating in there, so I'm going to show you that in just a second. All right, oven is hot. My pot is hot. And we are going to get that dough into the hot pot. So I'm going to lift this up. I'm going to pop it right into the pot like this. All right, make sure you've got good oven mitts because this is super hot. Lid goes back on. Okay, so 30 minutes with the lid on and 15 minutes with the lid off. We'll be back in about 45 minutes to show you the finished results. Look at our gorgeous, beautiful loaf of bread. Baked and ready in 15 minutes. So check the recipe out on our website, relishcookingstudio.com. If you have any questions, please just send us an email. And I also want to shout out to Julie Van Rosendahl at Dinner with Julie for the quick sourdough tip as well. Thanks guys, stay safe.